was positioning on their western border. What we've seen now is the United States driving that fear, driving that perhaps paranoia in Russia, backing them into a corner. The offer of the EU to bring the Ukraine into NATO, the offer that was a one-sided deal. If you want to be in with us, you've got to cut your ties to Russia. There's no such thing as a three-way here. That caused the Russians to perk up and to start to focus again on the Ukraine and to fear that they needed to take more drastic action for their own protection. Look, Alex, one of the basic rules of diplomacy, one of the things we learned in Negotiating 101 is don't back your opponent into a corner because he's got no choice but to come out fighting. I wish the Obama administration had taken that same class.
And look, I'm not a State Department trained 24-year veteran like you that's been in all these combat zones. I just watch it and read it. I know it's not a duly elected government. Obama's is duly elected. I know it's spearheaded by real Nazis wearing swastikas, heiling Hitler. I mean, it's so bizarre, I can't believe I turn on CNN and they're calling them wondrous freedom fighters. I know they have some real beefs. A lot of Ukrainians aren't Nazis that don't like the Russians. They have some beefs with Lenin and Stalin. I get it. There's old enmity that the State Department and the CIA are openly manipulating in a balkanization. And then I look at Russia trying to work with the West. From what I've seen in the last 10 years, they've actually been trying to reset, trying to be nice, trying to work with people. I'm not glorifying or saying Putin's an angel. And I see this as a Western attempt to not let Russia democratize. I see it as an attempt to have a new boogeyman from al-Qaeda, and now it's going to be the Russians, and a new way to fund the military-industrial complex. And it's crazy because the Russians came out today and said, again, we will basically nuke NATO targets if you hit any of our interest, as they said back on 888. Now, we pulled out of Georgia that time. A, do you agree with what I just said, or do you want to augment it? And B, where do you see this going?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you said there, Alex. We've put them in a corner. We've poked at their most tender spot, their fear of foreign intervention on their western border, and then we act almost surprised that things are going the way they are. There's a lay definition of mental illness that says it's repeating the same thing over and over, expecting different results. The United States, since the end of World War II, has supported despots, dictators, thugs, bin Laden, terrorists through the CIA and through our other manipulations, expecting that out of this, strong allies and democracies will somehow magically emerge. It hasn't worked for the last 60 years, but yet we're trying that again in the Ukraine. Where it bounces from here is a tough question. A lot depends on how much further the United States really wants to push Putin. Do we really want to test him on this? Do we really want to push him to the point where he has to lash out, where he has to do something to preserve his reputation, to preserve his equities on the border, to appear strong? That kind of confrontation is a loser for every side, for everyone, but it appears that the United States, driven by these odd scraps of neocons who still somehow are in the administration, driven by them, that seems to be a path that they're not afraid of taking, even though the rest of us should be scared stiff.
Is it an old Trotskyite beef, the fact that the neocons were founded by the heir to Trotsky here in the U.S. when he was killed in Mexico? Is it that they have a hatred of Russia?
I wish it was that clear and that simple. That would almost make some of this make sense. I think the truth lies closer to your earlier comment that we go abroad in search of boogeymen to fight. 9/11 was supposed to create the boogeyman of all time, terrorism. It isn't even a person, it isn't even a country, it was a thing, it was a concept, and therefore could go on indefinitely. The people who make money off wars could make money, the politicians who make money bleating about wars could make money and get votes. Everyone would be happy. But you know, the terrorist thing has not worked out quite the way we wanted. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, fill in the rest of the blanks. So you go with what you know in these situations, and it appears that the neocons are driving the United States, manufacturing perhaps a new Cold War with the old enemy. Hey, it worked back then, maybe it'll work again.
Incredible. I want to get more of your amazing insight. Peter Van Buren, WeMeantWell.com. And I want to get him on for a full hour soon. We're going to come right back to him about his experience in Iraq. We'll be right back. I'm Alex Jones.
Gentlemen, in search of $1 million smile that'll make them take notice, really get their attention? Then get the mud. My Magic Mud. The fluoride-free whitener with no chemicals, additives, GMOs, or bad taste. And safe to swallow. My Magic Mud detoxifies, reduces sensitivity, cleans and strengthens your teeth while it whitens. Comes as a powder for pure whitening power. Start looking good for that special someone. Get the mud now. MyMagicMud.com.
More and more people are discovering the incredible benefits of alkalizing the body, and there's no better product for it than AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops. Packed with a powerful combination of the most alkaline minerals and compounds, just a few drops in water will rid your body of harmful waste and give you more vibrance and vigor than you've had in years. Now buy 2 bottles and get $10 off your order. Call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
Great news, pure water lovers. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has a special discount offer for all GCN listeners. You can't do better than a Big Berkey for economy. For only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. There's none better than a Big Berkey for emergency preparedness as a backup water source. And you just can't beat a Big Berkey to remove dangerous chlorine, all types of fluoride, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, parasites, and unhealthy byproducts from municipal water. Berkey water filter systems are even powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. For the gold standard in water filters, get a Big Berkey at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And all GCN listeners get 5% off all ceramic filter systems. For details, call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
It's been said, those who control the food control the people. Are you concerned about GMO foods making you sick and affecting your mind? Many people suffer from lack of energy, insomnia, loss of stamina, weight gain, and the inability to think clearly. Genetically modified crops, processed foods, and toxic chemicals can compromise your health and are silently destroying your digestive system, which accounts for 80% of your immune system. Take back control of your health with Pro EM1 Probiotic from Terraganics. Pro EM1 Probiotic helps protect your body against irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, Crohn's disease, celiac disease, diabetes, the common cold, and much more. And including a powerful probiotic like Pro EM1 as part of your daily routine puts you back in control and prevents you from becoming a mindless zombie manipulated by the pharmaceutical and GMO agendas. Call Terraganics at 866-369-3678 or visit Terraganics.com. TERAGANIX.com.
Hi, folks. Alex Jones here with some important information. I want to tell you about Matt Redhawk and his team of patriots over at My Patriot Supply. Several years ago, Matt was sitting in his 2-bedroom apartment, frustrated with the direction this country was headed and the charlatans willing to sell us out for a quick buck. Deciding to take action, a company run by patriots for patriots was born. My Patriot Supply has never taken a loan or accepted outside funding. They now operate 2 distribution facilities and employ over 50 hardworking American men and women. It is rare to find companies who practice what they preach. And that's why I stock my pantry with high-quality storable foods from My Patriot Supply. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today for special offers on emergency food storage or call their preparedness specialist at 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Do business with someone who shares your values. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. There must be some kind of way out of here, Jimi Hendrix famously sung. And we're talking to Peter Van Buren, author, State Department veteran, WeMeantWell.com. I want to ask him about his new book that's out, and I want to get him on for a full hour in the near future to cover the waterfront. But in this short segment we've got left with you, I want to play this clip of Obama a few weeks ago, again, saying that it's an elected government in Kiev. And I've never seen the overthrow of reality at this level across the board, saying raising the debt limit doesn't raise our debt. I mean, just 2 + 2 = 5 level statements. I want to get your take on this. Here's the clip.
What they cannot accept, understandably, is the notion that they are simply an appendage, an extension of Russia, and that the Kremlin has veto power over decisions made by a duly elected government in Kiev.
Now, when he said that a week and a half ago, I never saw any media correct him. I mean, this is Twilight Zone. Peter Van Buren?
The thing about these statements is it's almost as if they don't really care anymore about who's paying attention or what they're saying. You've got a position now where the Obama government simply says whatever seems to tumble out of their mouths, and I don't know that anybody believes it, not even themselves. The duly elected government? Who elected them? Where were those votes counted? Instead, you've got Victoria Nuland on the phone saying that Yatsenyuk is going to be our man, and then surprisingly, after this coup business, the guy ends up in charge of things. The other thing that Obama keeps doing is he keeps poking the bear, if you will. Recently, they encouraged, the Obama administration to encourage the Ukrainian forces to go on a terrorist hunt in their eastern provinces. And what a surprise, they messed that up. It didn't go very well, and the Russians are forced to respond. My good friend Ray McGovern was writing about all these issues back in March. Everybody remembers the Sochi Olympics, and everybody remembers how as soon as the lights went off in Sochi, the Russians began their work in the Ukraine. At that time, Obama had the opportunity to call for a summit, to call for a meeting with Putin to sort these issues out. Instead, we fussed around with claiming elections were there and throwing sanctions and holding our breath until Putin changed his mind and somehow backed out of these things. It's a series of incompetent gestures that unfortunately reminds me far too much of the same set of silly walks, if you will, that took place in Syria, where, again, the U.S. and the Russians were heading towards some kind of a conflict. We were supporting one side by proxy, the Russians the other. In that case, our fumbles and stumbles were picked up by the Russians, and they pulled us out of the fire in some kind of weird, twisted Twilight Zone bit of irony.
Exactly. And what's so crazy is the West backs al-Qaeda in Syria. Russia picks the right side of Assad. Obviously no angel, but an angel compared to them. And then we pick the Nazis in Ukraine against the Russians. I mean, it's like America is trying to be the bad guy under this leadership. And like you said, it's a bunch of crazy neocons with a bunch of so-called liberals who aren't liberal at all.
How did these people stay in government? Victoria Nuland and a lot of these other neocons that are working now on the Ukraine issue were supposed to be flushed out in 2008.
Well, they talk like gangsters in these telephone calls that they admit got recorded by the Russians and released. They don't talk like diplomats I've ever heard of. I mean, they sound like people that, watch, different HBO shows like House of Cards and think that's real.
Yeah. I think the idea that they are not in touch with reality is kind of an overarching theme here. Whether they're aping television shows or still imagining the world as a chessboard that the United States can slide pieces around and somehow manipulate events in Syria, in the Ukraine, in other parts of the world. Well, Victoria, if you are listening, and I do doubt she listens to your show, Alex, Victoria, if you are listening, the Russians are the ones who are really good at chess. We're in checkmate right now in the Ukraine, and we've got no moves left that can actually influence this game.
Why are you saying we're in checkmate?
We're in checkmate because the question of what can the United States do to advance its interests in the Ukraine. When you're in checkmate in the game of chess, you've got no moves left. The only thing you can do at that point is lose the game. In the Ukraine,
or top the table over in World War III.
Well, you can, in fact, tip the board over and run for the door, and that involves nuclear exchanges and things like that. So we're kind of hoping we don't get that far.
I want to ask you how you think we should get out of it and what the best brains are. Can you do 5 more minutes with us on the other side?
Oh, absolutely, Alex.
Okay, thank you. We're going to come right back. The website's wemeantwell.com. Peter Van Buren will tell you about his great new book, but we'll have to have him back in the near future. When we come back, though, after he leaves us, I'm going to get into some very important news dealing with the Federal Reserve being grilled in the Senate.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.